afraid of old ideas. You know what I mean? Because them old ideas that set you up for suffer.
What's up, Flat Earth family? How are you doing? I thought I'd do something slightly different today. Normally we have a guest in studio, or I'm talking about some sort of subject, or we're over in the Project 1046 category talking about our current kind of fitness challenge. But I thought, I've been thinking, and I think I've been a bit rude. I think that what I've done is just kind of assumed, hey, you're here and you're listening or watching, and I've not really welcomed you in to our surroundings. So every week I say welcome to the Flat Earth podcast. I say to you, if you want to find out anything more about us, go over to our website, which is theflatearth.com. There you'll find blogs, past episodes, more content, a little PayPal button where if you want to, you can just buy a brother a protein shake or a exercise bike, or, a swimming pool. It's up to you. And then normally what I do is I say, welcome to the Flat Earth podcast studio, assuming you even know what that is. So what I thought I'd do today is just take a moment to show you around the place. I always tell you, or I've told you in previous episodes, that I built this place with my own hands. These things right here. But I want to tell you a little bit more about that, because maybe you're someone and you're thinking, I'd like my own space. I'd like a man cave, or, a she cavern, or whatever it is, some sort of place to create or escape. And you might think, well, how did Rick do it? Because he has this amazing space. How did that come about? So I'm going to tell you. I'll try and break down the process as far as I can remember it. It was a long time, over quite a few months of building. Normal life going on while I was trying to do it. I'll try and remember some of the costs, but some of them I just have straight forgotten. Others, for reasons of saving my marriage, I don't want to reveal costings. But needless to say, what I've gained from building this space far exceeds the cost, physically and in time, and in money, and in achy backs and sore fingers from hitting them with your hand, and broken Stanley knife blades, and whatever else. It was a blast. Building this place was just, although at times frustrating, really some of the best fun I've ever had with my clothes on. Just awesome. So if you don't know, and I will be cutting in some footage of not only this space that we're in, the wider space, because you only ever really get this angle, but some of the wider space, some of the exterior, and I will cut in some photos, possibly video if I can find it. I've been looking around trying to find it, of the process of building it. So you should know, this shed wasn't prefabricated in any way. It was completely designed and constructed by yours truly, and it's a pallet build. Now, if you don't know what that is, essentially the floor and all the walls, which would normally be, I guess, either if you're getting someone to build it, it might be prefabricated walls, but certainly it would be like wooden partition, 2x4 or 3x2, or whatever you've chosen. And they would construct it, and then they would do all the stuff they do. But what I did to save money was I started by, all the walls are just pallets. They're just pallets. There's no specially made stud work in any of these walls. Now, if you don't know what a pallet is, I don't know what to tell you at this point. But here's a pallet. Okay, that's what pallets are. Okay, so what I would do is, as I decided I want to build this, there was actually a shed on this site and a children's summer house type thing here. The children's summer house has been moved over the other side of the garden opposite this, and the shed got destroyed. Now, originally I wasn't planning to build this. Originally I wasn't planning to do a podcast or even sort of need a space, but we had a really run down shed, and I'd said to myself for a long time, I think I can build a shed. I looked around, and sheds for what they are so expensive. They're really cheap, badly made. If you buy prefabricated ones, really, really shoddy. I thought I could make my own one. So I decided one day I'm gonna tear down the old shed, and I'm gonna build just a slightly bigger new shed, better storage, but never really thought of it as anything more than that. And then when I left my job 2 and a bit years ago to pursue writing, I actually thought, I should build a slightly even bigger shed and make a space for writing. And then more and more, it just grew and grew. And what started as maybe doing like an 8x4, 8x5 kind of shed or whatever, grew into this like 13 foot by 7 foot or whatever this is. I can't remember the exact measurements, but it's big in here, grew into this massive deal. And what went from just being quickly putting some pallets up, throwing an old tin roof on or something, turned into a fully insulated, well-built, well-designed hybrid roof, which, if you don't know what that is, join the club. But this is what it is. It's a hybrid roof. I did loads of reading on it and got really into it. I've forgotten it all. I didn't store that sort of stuff. But got these set of French doors from a friend of a friend who was getting rid of it, 75 quid, bought those, and that straight away gave me the idea of the frontage. And then a friend of mine said, look, if you're going to do this, you have to insulate not only the walls, not only the floor. So we have insulation in the floor, in the walls, and in the ceiling. I think it's 50 mil or 70 mil insulation in here. It's lovely, it's carpeted, it's warm. The only thing that's outstanding, there's maybe two things outstanding, but the main thing that's outstanding is permanent electricity run here, and that's just a time thing. I just haven't had the time or inclination, and winter came along, and I know exactly what I want to do and how to do it, and we'll do that at some point. Anyway, I say all that to say, I would drive around on days when I had some spare time. I would drive around trading estates. Anytime I'd walk past a house and there was building work done, I'd keep my eye on that house, and at some point I would see an empty pallet. You see, pallets get delivered, like tiles get delivered on pallets. All sorts of things get delivered on pallets to trading estates and also to homes now. If you have tiles or certain building materials, they'll get delivered on a pallet. And most people don't know what to do with a pallet after they've used it. So most people are like willing to go, oh, here's a pallet. So I did that and ended up gathering like something like 25, 30 pallets, much to my wife's displeasure, because they filled the garden, the front and back garden, for months. Just like a right sort of tramp's house, tramp's house. I don't know. Can you say that? Is tramp a word you can use now? I don't know. Hobo's house. It looked a mess, man. It looked a mess. But I got these pallets, and one thing I changed. Now you got to realise. At first, I was just going to wing it. I did a little drawing. I was like, "This is what I'm going to do." I thought I'll just work it out as I go. But I pretty soon worked out, actually, I need a proper plan. So if you're thinking of building anything, particularly a structure outside like this, that has to conform to certain regulations, be a certain height or whatever it is, do yourself a great favour. Get yourself three things. One, get yourself a nice pad like graph paper, little square graph paper, Two, get yourself a decent pencil. Pencil is very, very helpful. Three, get yourself a scale ruler. You don't know what a scale ruler is? Oh man, like give me 1 minute. I'll just run and get my scale ruler and I'll be back. 1 second. One second. These are scale rulers. So what a scale ruler looks like, if you don't know. Odd sort of thing to it. Maybe you have used these in some school project. It depends how old you are, really. But essentially, what these allow you to do is approximate real life distances by using much smaller distances, and it gives you a really easy way of converting. Okay, this space equals 3 meters, and it allows you to work out on your graph paper with your good pencil, exactly the right scale and size of what you're going to do, and allows you then to exactly work out materials. Now, maybe you're thinking, I'd like to do this, Rick, but I don't understand scale rulers. I ain't even got a pencil. I don't even know how pencils work. What do I do? You know, I would say I understand that you might be hesitant, but you'd be surprised how much you can do. Trust me, I think all of us, we'd be surprised when push comes to shove how much we can actually achieve if we just put our mind to it. And the beauty of building this thing is I got so much wrong. Like, I made so many mistakes. I made so many errors. I wasted so many materials and broke so many tools, and some days just gave up and went indoors and had a little cry in the fetal position. That's okay. That's going to happen. My background, luckily, is in a little bit of general building. I trained as a half-trained as a sort of a bricklayer at night school and did some general building with friends. So I have a basic understanding of tools, angles, measurements, things like that. But in no way am I an expert in these areas. So if you even know the tiniest of like DIY skills, you'll be all right. And I found that YouTube was like really valuable in this process, man. I would jump on constantly and look at people who build garden rooms professionally, and I would copy them and stuff like that. But the good thing is, no one knew I was making mistakes. I was here at the end of my garden, just working away. To anyone just strolling by, not that you can stroll by my back garden, that'd be weird. You trespassing. But I just look like someone, I just building away. But I'd constantly make mistakes and just redo it. And the thing I love about working with wood, the beauty of working with wood, is you make a mistake, you can easily fix it. You can refit things, you can add things easy just with screws and bolts and glue, and it's just amazing. I love working with wood. It's kind of a cool thing. So I started construction. That's so much. That's too much of a grand title for what happened. So I began construction, and I didn't actually use pallets on the floor in the end. I decided I need a really good frame for this whole thing to sit on. So I actually ended up doing some stud work for the floor, just to make sure it sat really well. There's a concrete patio under here on at least 2/3 of this area, so it was on something really solid. And then on the corners where there was soil, I concreted and sunk posts so that it was all level. And that's, for me, was the hardest thing, making everything level and square. That's something where that's a difficult thing, and you wouldn't know it at a glance, but the roof is kind of out. It works perfectly. It's watertight. It's going to last a long time, hopefully. Please, Lord. But, you know, I often have trouble. I would say, if you're going to do this, do take your time in taking certain measurements in certain cuts. You know, what else can I tell you about this place, man? So I started building, did the floor just in partition, then slowly boot up the at least the 3 and a bit walls with pallets. Did a bit of stud work on the end where it was smaller, but generally just with pallets. Just bolted them together with big bastard bolts like that. Just bolted it together. I've got metal plates, attached metal plates between each pallet. I don't know if this hand stuff is helping, but just tried to get it as solid as possible. And then the roof, and made the front of the building slightly higher and the back slightly lower. Put some beams across it so the water would hit the roof and run down the back into the neighbour's garden. And that was pretty much it. It's pretty simple in that regard. It's just hard work, a bit of slow work if you don't know what you're doing, taking your time, getting used to it. But it's just very, very rewarding. And I think then it came to the inside, and I wanted to make sure, like this thing here, you see it in the background, it looks like a little sofa, but this thing actually, I don't know if I'll be able to show you one of it, but this thing lifts up. So it lifts up. Under there is all the storage, and believe it or not, everything I used to keep in my shed is all underneath that chair. There's a little bit more storage there. Storage I built here, this little cupboard, this little shelf unit. Up behind the camera there, there's low storage, which is where I keep all of the whiskey, all the important stuff. Got a board here, just for working and ideas, because this isn't primarily, it is the podcast studio, but it started out as a space to write, a space for me to escape and have all my notes out and to be able to work on projects, writing projects, and then go in for dinner or lunch or overnight and come back, and I wouldn't have to have stacked it away. You know, I live with 3 women, 1 I married, 2 I made, and it's chaos in there. It's just pink chaos in there. It's just hairbands and products and iPads and chaos in the house. So to come out here into a more manly space, and you'll notice there's swords on the wall, skateboard on the wall, there's knives up there, there's books that are mine. I made this there are rules here. You're allowed to drink, you're allowed to smoke, you can do whatever you want. This place doesn't have to remain tidy. When it's not on camera, it can be a bit of a pigsty, this place, gotta be honest, but that's all right. It's my space. What space would you want to design and build? Make it right for you. That's it. Lighting, again, I've not permanently fitted, but at the moment we have some lighting in the shelves and up there, and a floodlight thing up here, but some LEDs, and we're going to work on that as we go along. This thing will develop. But I just wanted to make this quick video, just to encourage you. If you don't think you can do it, you're wrong. So just go for it. Let me run through just a few costs. The pallets are free. Get pallets wherever you can. Beg, steal and borrow any wood you can. You'd be surprised how much good usable wood people just throw away in skips just because they don't need it. That's what I did. I would scavenge for even the smallest bit of wood. I'd go and do it. Outside of places like B&Q and Wicks, you'll find that they often have charity bins now where people can drop off offcuts of wood that they no longer need or want, and they put it in there, and it's completely free for you to take. You would be shocked how much good stuff people throw away. Wood I had to buy was the wood for the floor and the wood for the ceiling. I had to buy the stuff that's on the walls here, this stuff, OSB, they call it OSB. I can't remember what that stands for. Silly boards. I don't know what it stands for. Something, I don't know. OSB board. You could use plywood. You could use wood you scavenge. I bought OSB, so I had a nice uniform appearance. Same for the roof. A bit of felt that you put on the roof. Carpet for the floor. This table, we'd had this table for about 7 years. It was originally a large dining room table. Then we made it into a coffee table, and then it sat out in the garden waiting for me to take it to the tip. So one day I just said, no, man, I'm going to use this in the studio. And I stained it a nice colour, and here we are. You can do anything you want with your space. Okay? So sorry, I was talking about costs. I got a little bit lost. I get a bit lost sometimes. So yeah, what did I actually pay then? Probably must have been around £1,200. Around £1,200 was probably the cost of the wood and bits and bobs I needed. Now I got a large discount. A friend of mine, a very good customer of a certain lumber yard, and he was kind enough to let me jump in on his discount. Wood, the price of wood has gone, it's gone crazy, absolutely crazy. So I understand it might be more difficult now, but yeah, I think, that wasn't all this cost me. But like I say, it's hard to work out what the real costs are. But somewhere in the region, it's probably getting on for $2,000. I think about $2,000, probably maybe a tad more. Yeah, about $2,000 might be 2.5. Might be 2.5 grand. It might be more. It might be like $3,000. It's really hard to tell. And I know you're like, I see videos like this on YouTube. I'm like, how can they not know? I did this over 6 months. I did it in bits and bobs. I did it with the kindness and generosity of people. I did it with scrimping and scraving. I love watches. I love watches, and I had a collection of 12 watches when I began this project. When I'd finished, I had 3 left, because every time I run out of money, I sold a watch. I didn't want to. I love those watches. I probably won't. There's a couple of those watches I'll never get back again. But I wanted this more than I needed those things. So I sold those to fund my future. Sometimes you've got to take something from your past or your present and sacrifice it for your future. So that's what I did. And here we are. We're now in this illustrious, just beautiful, salubrious surroundings of the Flat Earth podcast studio, and I love it. And the bonus is, if you were to get a cabin like mine built today, 20,000, 25,000, with electricity and double glazing, is probably more. And that's crazy. The price of home garden offices just skyrocketed last couple of years during all this work from home business because of the really bad flu season we've had. So for me, spending 2-3 grand, whatever, on this, right, even though it was a struggle at times to have it, and like I say, lots of help, lots of blessing. This was great because it was so cheap, and awesome because this has added value to my house. It's actually, I don't know, what, 5-10 grand, who knows. This and the parking that I did on the front, I might have added in this last year for the cost of like 3-4 grand, 20 grand, 25 grand, 30 grand to the price of the house. It's nothing but good if you decide to build one of these things. I encourage you, just go for it. You don't think you're a DIY person, find a friend, find someone who is, ask them to come and help you, come and teach you. Say, could you come and do it? Try and get a price off a builder. Say, what if I labor for you? What if I, whatever. There's ways of cutting the corner. YouTube is your friend. Just dig in. If you've got any more questions about this and you're watching this on YouTube, just jump into the comments and ask me. I will reply to you directly. I can, happy to provide you with the plans I used and how I went around certain things like the roof and the doors and the floors and heating and all that sort of stuff. That's it, guys. I hope you've enjoyed this. I hope you now feel more at home, understanding what you're doing as you join me in this palace of podcasting every week. Bless you guys. I hope you're well. Do check out the website. Do check out every audio podcast that comes out every Thursday on Spotify. Do see you again probably on Friday, right? On Friday for the weigh-in. We are enjoying these weigh-ins. So far, the weight is coming off and we are loving it. Project 1046 is in the house. Bless you guys. Thank you for joining me in my podcast home.
Retrograde motion of the earth, hopes in the hearse, buried in the dirt with the worst and the best. Yeah, be strong and get over whatever. Yeah, don't backbite, keep your head high, vent, let it out. If you can talk it out, move ahead instead of back. It's mad.
Podcasts shall be recorded, books shall be written in what we build in this here little space.